Blank will be the first to leave Trump world.
I have an answer that is going to bring us back to the econ stuff, so I want you to go first.
Mine's obvious. It's Elon Musk, right? We're 80 days or so into Trump's term in office. His special government employee contract is around 140 days. Now, of course, they can renew it, but let's not forget, Doge itself is supposed to time out next year. So it's not like Elon was ever going to be in office for the full 4 years of Trump's second term. And then again, we have all of this scuttlebutt about growing tension, not only between Musk and Donald Trump, which we've talked about at length here on the show, but between Musk and other members of the cabinet. Trump held a secret, unscheduled cabinet meeting last Thursday where basically Elon and Marco Rubio and Sean Duffy, the Department of Transportation Secretary, were yelling at each other because of all of the confusion that Doge is installing in the federal workers who remain loyal to the Trump administration. These aren't the people who were trying to upend them in the first 2 weeks of office.
These are MAGA acolytes.
Yeah, basically. Certainly all the political appointees and some of the career Republican officials who've stayed on. And look, it looks to me like Elon is wearing out his welcome. Part of that is because of the errors that Doge is making, and part of that is, again, because he is not used to working in this space. We've said it at length. You can do whatever you want when you buy a Silicon Valley tech startup that has, 40 to 50, maybe on the high end, 70 to 80 employees, right?
Move fast and break things, and at worst, you've zeroed out a non-FDIC insured investment.
Yeah, exactly. That's just not how it works, though, when you're running and trying to streamline an organization that has 2.4 million workers across the country, right? Spanning a wealth of different interests and policy areas of expertise. And I'm not even talking about the military, right? This is only civilian employees. And quite frankly, I'm kind of amazed it took this long. Yes, Elon did a good job of trying to show that the Trump administration is serious about cutting waste, and B, act as a human meat shield for Donald Trump in terms of, taking up criticism from the media during these first few early weeks. I can't even talk today because I'm so angry. It's clear to me that Musk is on the hot seat and he's probably going to be the first one out. But I want to hear what you have to say.
I don't think I don't think Trump or Rubio or any of these guys can afford to have Elon flame out in a rage, right?
Okay.
Because the fact is, not only does he have the money to primary anyone he wants to primary.
That's right. Yeah.
Not only does he come and bring, I think a lot of Wall Street and Silicon Valley lining up behind Trump publicly has to do with Elon presenting that permission structure, right? But also, though, he is right now, people forget, it is Starlink that is keeping the entire Ukrainian military operation afloat right now. For basically free.
And not just Starlink, places in rural North Carolina, Los Angeles, where we've had these natural disasters. I mean, Starlink might go down as Elon's greatest contribution to mankind. It's kind of crazy to say.
And it's for how crazy he can seem and, wielding around the chainsaw or whatever, maybe his strategy is not using, as Trump is taken to saying, using the scalpel. He wants to use the scalpel. He wants to, be careful. The person who I think is going to flame out is Peter Navarro. So technically, Peter Navarro is the special counselor or senior counselor for trade and manufacturing to the president.
That's right.
But really, he is why all this with the tariffs, so gesticulate, he's the architect of this right now.
Right.
So he has Trump's ear, and he is the one that's pushing him to actually execute the tariffs, right? The other cabinet sects, they like the idea of the threats. All the other economic advisors, they like the idea of the threats. But Peter Navarro is a true believer, and here's why. This is the most telling line from Peter Navarro to explain why what is happening right now is happening. He wrote in an academic paper, and he's used this line a bunch, when a country runs a trade deficit by importing more than it exports, this subtracts from growth. This is a misunderstanding of a formula you learn in high school economics. GDP is CGINX, so it's consumption plus government expenditures plus investment minus net exports. And net exports is just your total exports minus your total imports. So he's saying because it's minus imports, as you can see there, it means all imports detract from GDP. But why is that? Because imports are already accounted for in the other three parts of the calculations. Let's take avocados. 90% of avocados in America are imported from Mexico. If I, a consumer, buy an avocado from Mexico, that gets counted in C. If Chipotle, where I got my lunch today, if they buy an avocado from Mexico, that counts in business. If the government buys avocados for school lunches or something, that counts as G. So that's the only reason why. And the reason why I'm explaining this in such minimal terms is because the tariffs are not happening in the way they're happening right now as the threat. Yeah. This is how I know right now I'm the clown. This is how I know I'm the clown. Because Peter Navarro has this belief that trade deficits are inherently bad. And this ignores the fact that the US, as the world's reserve currency, it's a good thing for us to have a trade deficit in general because it means we have more capital inflows to the country.
That was great analysis. I love it when you talk macros because, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. But seriously, like from a messaging optics standpoint, to back up your point, and I think I might have just changed my vote about who's going to be leaving first, you have Peter Navarro doing these daily, if not weekly, background calls with reporters, myself included, to explain their implementation of these tariffs and negotiations with other party countries. He is adamant that these will stay in place. This is the status quo going forward, and we're going to realign the whole global economy along the way. Meanwhile, you have Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent going on Fox Business or CNBC saying, oh, I'm pretty sure the president tomorrow is going to announce that he's rolling it back, blah, 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 blah. Navarro's already on the outs. He used to be doing TV in the early days. Now he's only talking to reporters. I think the writing is on the wall for Mr. Navarro.